Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward. Welcome everyone to Paranormal Heart Podcast, Paranormal Talk with Heart and Soul. Tonight's segment is pre-recorded, streaming on United Public Radio Network 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast, YouTube, and any place you find your favorite podcast. I'm your host, Kat Ward. Thanks so much for tuning in with us tonight. So I am back and ready to go. I do apologize for having so many delays. I had some bad luck. I had the flu twice in a month. Lucky me. Then I had cataract surgery on both eyes, so I was offline for a bit while my eyes healed. So now no glasses except for reading small print, but that's okay. I can handle that. So I have a question for you guys, though. Now that I'm not wearing glasses, do y'all think I should keep my current caricature with glasses, hanging out with Boo? Or should I get a new one done without the glasses? I really want to know what your thoughts are. So tonight, my Haunted Hearts, my special guest is my dear friend and paranormal brother and co-host of ParaTruth Reborn, Erik Scerbak. Tonight, Erik and I will be diving into the mysterious connection between extreme weather and reported hauntings. From violent thunderstorms to blizzards and sudden pressure drops, we'll explore whether storms simply heighten our senses or if they actually fuel paranormal activity. So welcome back, Erik.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, anytime. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, you mentioned not having glasses. I didn't even notice when I got on before. It didn't register.
It didn't register. Okay. No. So what do you think? New caricature or the old one?
I mean, that's a tough call. I mean, I feel like if you don't need them to do the show anymore, then I say switch it up and go with no glasses, you know?
That's what I was thinking, because I'm going to be going to an event here in Gatineau, Quebec in August for the Bigfoot conference. And if people see me, if I'm not at my table, I'm going to have all my stuff, all my swag and stuff on my table. And if it has my old caricature, they might not recognize me without the glasses. Then again, they might. I don't know. So, yeah. I reached out to my graphic artist, Mark. I think you guys have used him before.
I think so.
Great guy. Oh my God, great artist. So he's working on something to update it. So we'll see what happens. And maybe I'll ask the listeners and viewers what they think.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, maybe. So weather and hauntings. Mm-hmm. It's a topic that really interests me because I have, ever since I can remember, have had weather-related migraines. And I've also am sensitive. And I've found over the years doing the podcast that I found there might be a correlation between psychics and migraines, because I've asked quite a few people over the years, men and women who have psychic abilities, if they get weather-related migraines, and the majority of them say yes. So let's see. So wind creates infrasound, which is 20 hertz, I believe, or below, which has been linked to anxiety, shadow perception, visual distortions, and peripheral vision, feeling of dread. I'm going to be adding the link in the show notes, but Google a paper called The Ghost in the Machine, written by Vic Tandy and Tony R. Lawrence in 1998 for the Journal of the Society of Psychical Research. It's a very, very interesting paper on infrasound and the paranormal. So it's called The Ghost in the Machine. I think I've sent you the paper years ago, but I'm not sure.
I recall it. It sounds very familiar. Probably, I know I read it. I recall it, but I just can't off the top of my head think of everything that was in there. It's so long ago.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's just really interesting. I just happened to stumble upon it several years ago, and I thought, wow, this makes a lot of sense because so there's storms, like wind will produce infrasound. So before there's a big storm coming, it's pushing towards you, and there's going to be infrasound. So that's why a lot of pets actually react to storms even before they get here, is because they're picking up on the infrasound. Not all pets are sensitive to that particular thing, just like people. So it's really interesting. So in a storm, there's increased electromagnetic energy during storms, the barometric pressure changes affecting human perception, fog creating visual distortion, so pareidolia, traumatic weather disasters leaving strong emotional imprints, static electricity possibly interacting with equipment. They could potentially drain your batteries, equipment malfunction, that sort of thing. Lightning releases massive electromagnetic pulse. EM fluctuations are known to affect human perception at certain frequencies. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, before lightning strikes, the atmosphere becomes electrically charged, hair rises, skin tingles, electronic glitches. Yeah, it goes on and on and on. I mean,
well, it's interesting because, in one case you think, I guess I shouldn't say you think, but there's evidence that suggests that these thunderstorms, for example, can heighten paranormal activity itself. But there's a scientific explanation too that these thunderstorms or lightning storms in particular, since they create these negative ions, they can actually produce kind of psychedelic effects that make you think you're actually seeing paranormal phenomena when you're not, because these negative ions are very similar and practically identical to what you would see in a high EMF field within a home, which also, as we know, high EMF near like a mechanical box or something, electric box, that can set off various things within the human body, especially within the mind, such as seeing visions, getting headaches, feeling like a sense of paranoia, things like that. So, it's like whether or not a storm itself actually increases the phenomena, or it just simply increases your perspective of what you think is paranormal phenomena, is still up for debate. But I do find it very interesting that negative ions in particular play a huge role, because it has been, to some extent proven, at least within the paranormal world, in the scientific paranormal world, that places with high EMF charges do tend to have higher activity based on the results that people are getting, either through their EMF detectors, their EVPs, their various tools to help indicate various types of ghost-like activity, right? Ley lines, for example, they tend to have high EMF, which is typically produced with negative ions. And even rain, it literally, as water falls from the sky, it splits molecules and creates these negative ions, which again fuels the atmosphere with this kind of feeling. And it's often like, a fresh scent, rain scent that that everyone loves. That is actually the scent of negative ions that have accumulated, so you're actually smelling ions in the atmosphere. And it's that same thing that is really charging a lot of this paranormal activity. But it's so tough to say, considering it does have this effect on people too.
Yeah. So like, is the storm creating the haunting, powering it, or perhaps storms are opening portals, allowing unseen entities to slip into our world? Like, there's so many theories.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of suggested evidence that we see an increase in UFO activity in the skies during thunderstorms as well, almost as if these UFOs are feeding off the lightning storms in itself, or the energy that these storms produce. Now, and the same thing happens with like blizzards, right? Because and it makes sense, because if rain creates negative ions, snow is just a frozen version of rain. And even though the molecules are slightly different because of what it's, what it basically is created as this icy type of substance, it still creates a negative ion. It still changes the barometric pressure in the atmosphere. It helps to relieve some symptoms for people, while also increasing symptoms within the mind, especially. And how many people say, "Oh, there's a storm coming. I feel it in my bones." Right? That's something that's very natural. So it is very intriguing how storms do tend to increase, but we don't have enough scientific evidence in total to support that storms do indeed increase the paranormal activity itself.
It would be interesting if we can get like the Weather Network work together with paranormal investigators to figure it out. I mean, I'm serious here. I mean, get meteorologists to work with paranormal investigators, and we might be able to find something not necessarily new, but maybe confirm what we already suspect.
No, I mean, that's very possible. If nothing else, uh, these networks would be able to help us better understand the idea of storms and how they create energy, which in return could help us better understand how energy is manifested, around us as well, right? You think of static electricity you mentioned earlier. When there's an atmosphere that's charged with static electricity, you can kind of feel it. And naturally, it comes to be once you tap something, right? You touch another person, touch a piece of metal, and you get that little zap. It's like, oh, yeah, it's there. My house is crazy charged with static electricity because I really don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like crazy dry in here or so just a weird atmosphere, but I'm always shocking beaks and and back and forth. He'll come up and nudge his nose up against my arm and he'll like flinch because there's a loud shock and he jumps back but yeah, it's definitely interesting how various charges like that can certainly increase energy, and it's the same thing that even drains batteries. Like you would think it would help charge batteries, but it drains them. I think though, beyond that, even if we couldn't get meteorologists involved, I think there is it should be a type of investigation conducted or study in which the same location supposedly haunted at least, in which somebody does an investigation for multiple nights, multiple weeks throughout the year, whatever, while there aren't any storms, get their base readings during those investigations, and then when there's a storm, go back and do multiple investigations during various storms and see how the evidence relates or doesn't relate. There's a good chance that our speculation on storms creating more paranormal energy is completely false, and there is no change at all. It's just our perspective that changes. But on the flip side, it very well could. And if so, that might kind of help gear us toward a better understanding of how energy manifests in the physical realm.
So true. I've mentioned on the show before, and I think I mentioned on your show before too, that several years ago, I had an appointment and it was 2 hours away. And at the time, the kids were old enough to be able to stay at home by themselves for the day. And they weren't calling for severe weather. They were calling for rain, but not severe weather. So I went to my neighbor across the street because my kids used to play with her son. And I said, hey, we're going to Ottawa. Kids are staying home. If there's a tornado, can the kids come over? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, thank you. Whatever. So we get to our destination, and I tried calling the kids, and they didn't have cell phones then. It was just the landline, and it was ringing and ringing and ringing, and nobody was picking up. And I thought, okay, that's kind of strange. So I tried it a couple other times, and I'm like, what's going on? Open up my Facebook on my smartphone, and people were showing pictures of flipped transport trucks, trees uprooted, roofs. I'm just like, holy crap. I looked at my husband and said, I think we had a tornado. And sure enough, it was, by definition, it was not a tornado, but it's just as destructive. I think they call it a downburst or something like that. But it was destructive. I mean, when we came home, we were driving through our little town. It looked like a war zone. I mean, some roofs were missing, shingles, down trees. It was and there was no power. And I sensed that before we even left for our drive. I mean, my head, I had the worst migraine I've ever had. My face was beet red, so I know my blood pressure was way up. So yeah, it was crazy that I knew that, like I said, they're only forecasting rain, nothing too severe, but no, my little brain knew that something was coming, and sadly I was right. I don't remember if there were any injuries or fatalities during that. I just remember luckily our house had like 3 little shingles that were removed, ripped off. And, like at the peak of your roof, you have those other, the kind of shape.
Oh, yeah.
I had 3 of those missing. So we lived in military housing. So I called them and said, hey, we're missing this. And they came the next day to fix it, probably because it was an easy fix, just 3 little shingles. But it was just an example like that. Like I've always sensed whenever we're going to have bad weather.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we as living beings is just like every other creature on the planet. We have instincts. The only difference is that we don't always know how to react to those instincts, and we're not as fluent in those instincts. Whereas an animal might think something similar or notice something similar, and what happens? They disappear. Like before a big storm, all the birds stop chirping because they're hiding away. You don't see squirrels running around. You don't, the humans are very different. There's so many things happening in our lives or thinking about so many other things that we completely ignore our instinct, just thinking, it's not going to happen, right? Or you just don't even notice it at all. It just doesn't trigger. I think it's mainly just because, we are thinkers the way that we are. We're highly advanced in a sense, but because of that, we lose a lot of those base traits that are highly important to survival, right? It's that fight mode type of thing that virtually every other animal and bug and everything has on this planet. So it goes to show, like, I guess, with great responsibilities and thought processes doesn't always mean better, because we're the ones who end up in trouble when giant storms come around and, our homes are destroyed and people are dying, unfortunately, because they didn't think to go underground and hide like the rest of the creatures.
How many times have you and I heard other people say, or even us say, I should have gone with my instincts?
Mm-hmm. All the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard because, in today's day of age, especially, it's hard to discern what is an instinct, what is a worry, what is, a psychic anomaly. We have to really discern and get to know ourselves well enough in order to understand what it is we're feeling in that time, right? And that's where meditation comes in. That's where a lot of just journaling and learning about yourself, so that you can understand your emotions and how you're feeling and be able to pinpoint what that means in that given time. But unfortunately, a lot of us aren't like that. It's just not normal for us because we're kind of stuck in the day-to-day rhythm of life.
At work, we have to pay bills, take care of the family. I have to bring my car in. There's so many things that distract us.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, because in those situations, things can end up bad. But thankfully, we do have, when it comes to storms, warning systems, advanced warning systems in most cases. But nonetheless, trouble strikes like that, and we're not always prepared for it. Tornadoes especially, like, it's one thing if you live in Tornado Alley in the United States, at a certain time of year to prepare and be ready. But there are various spots throughout the U.S. where tornadoes kick up that they're not expected. They're not like hurricanes, which we can see miles and miles offshore and prepare weeks in advance. And giant storms too, especially here where I am in Cleveland, Ohio. We've got the Great Lakes, we've got Lake Erie, so we have a lot of storms that just spin up off the lake and just come out of nowhere. With no advanced warning whatsoever. They just spin up and boom, you got a pretty heavy torrent coming down. So, it's definitely one thing to be prepared, but it's another to rely on your instinct and try to gather all that information and box it up and know what to do with it. And I think that's where we can tend to struggle for sure.
When we lived in Alberta, I drove home after, it got so dark because I was working at a hotel there as a housekeeper, and they were calling for severe thunder showers and potential tornadoes. And I'm in the pool area just mopping up, it's the end of my shift, and it got so dark outside that the lights turned on. It was like dark. And when I drove home, I white knuckled it because it was green in the sky. The winds were crazy, and I'm thinking, am I driving in a freaking tornado? So I make it home. My husband we had a garage then. He had the door open ready for me so I could drive in, and I was like all shaky going, what the heck was that? And we found out later on that 30, 40 minutes away from us, thankfully in a farmer's field, a tornado did touch down, and that was a system that I drove through. It's just like, holy, I did not like that at all. I don't think it was a full F1 or anything at the time. I don't know. It was probably just starting, but that wasn't fun.
No, I'd imagine that. It's never fun. No. Storms have their excitement, and I'm one. I mean, I enjoy storms. I know you do too. Watching thunder roll in and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a certain level of adrenaline that kicks in when you have a big storm coming through, right? And it's like the storm is happening and it's really scary, and then when it goes away, it's like, oh, that was pretty cool, I enjoyed that was a lot of fun, right? So long as nothing bad happened and there's no damage and stuff like that. But yeah, and it's interesting. Like I think it's just the power of Mother Nature in general. It's like there's a scary aspect to it for sure. It's very dangerous, but there's also this awe-inspiring, just kind of like, you enjoy it. Like as people, we just like, whoa, like
that was exciting, scary, but exciting. Yeah. Right.
And I had a somewhat similar experience 2 years ago now. I think it was two springs ago. It's like 3 a.m. and the TV like turned on and the phone started going off like crazy, and with just all these like pinging sounds and like alarm sounds. And I wake up and I look at it, says tornado warning in your area, and then all of a sudden all the tornado sirens started going off around the city.
Wow.
And so naturally, you jump up at 3 a.m. It's like, I don't know what to do. Should I go downstairs? And I'm not one to immediately go downstairs. I kind of like look outside, like, can I see? And of course it's 3 a.m. so it's pitch black. I'm not going to see much. But it was scary because like, you hear the sirens going off and there's not a single bit of wind at all. It's like no wind, no rain, nothing. And it's just like, I've never experienced an actual tornado touchdown, but I've heard the stories of how everything goes silent right before the tornado hits. So it's like that was a pretty frightening experience. And once it did finally pass, they usually give like a 1 to 1.5 hour like warning time. So it's like might happen now, but be prepared for the next hour and a half, right?
Yeah.
So once that passed, it's like, okay, well now it's over, and that's kind of cool. But back to bed.
Yeah, 3 a.m. That was amazing that the TV turned on too. Wow. Yeah, so you never know, like, because if there was a power surge, you think it wouldn't turn the TV on, it would fry things, right?
I mean,
I don't know.
It depends, not necessarily. So like, I guess it depends on the grid. Like I've had power go off, obviously, but sometimes it'll like, so if the TV is on and then a power surge hits and turns everything off, and then the electricity kicks right back, it'll turn everything back on.
Oh, yeah.
So lamps turn off and turn on, TV will turn off, turn on, like that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so in some cases, like you have this power trip and a TV, at least in this case, kicks back on, even though it was off. And it's like, it's no big deal. It's like, natural for electricity to do that when it's going through this weird power surge up and down the street. But yeah, nonetheless, it was like, it's pretty interesting because it was just, it was the warning systems all around, and it's a scary thing to wake up to in the middle of the night.
Yeah, we don't have tornado sirens here. It would be freaky to like, I just don't know what it's like to be able to hear that. I've seen it on TV shows and movies, obviously. But
I've heard it a lot over the years. That was 2 years ago. A year before that, we had, I was out where my parents live, and we had every tornado siren in every surrounding city around us going off, except for ours. So you can hear it from all different directions. It was really cool.
Wow.
But like tornado sirens, at least the ones that we have here, are pretty frightening. Like it's a scary sound.
Yeah.
That's not something you're used to. And like they tend to get us used to it because in the spring, like between spring, I would say March and June, they do, I think it's Saturday or Sunday, they do 12 p.m. Tornado siren tests. So at noon every weekend, sirens go off for maybe 5 minutes or so, testing the systems.
Yeah.
But, and those are pretty low key. You hear them, but they're not as loud as they typically are, in the middle of a storm.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely want to test those, not during a storm, but test it before, yeah. Kind of like your smoke detectors.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure you change your batteries once a year, folks. So let's talk about some things that have happened during storms. So I have the storm spirits of Point Pleasant. So apparently after 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge, I've never heard of it before. Maybe you have.
That's Point Pleasant. Yeah, that's where Mothman.
Yep. Witnesses reported strange weather patterns, suddenly fog banks, electrical disturbances, and violent storms coinciding with sightings of the Mothman.
Mm-hmm. I find it's actually very interesting because like there's a lot of speculation as to what exactly the Mothman was.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's seen as like this dark figure, like this tall, dark figure, nearly black with black wings and red eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that said it was a demon that was creating this problem that caused the Silver Bridge to collapse, who caused the storms. Some say it was an angel that was there trying to warn people of it.
Mm-hmm.
Some say it was another entity altogether. But it is interesting that even that historically, even within religion circles, especially within Christianity, angels and demons are often associated to various weather phenomenons. We hear about thunder and lightning and some angels being in charge of the winds. Sorry, Binks is taking screen time here.
Hello, Binks.
So I do find it rather intriguing that something like the Mothman was there at that time, whether as a warning or as a, precautionary tale of destruction that it itself is causing, but that it was also there a long time, like along with these storms that were also popping up. That's very intriguing to me. It makes me think it's something more on the spiritual side rather than a cryptid, as many people claim it to be.
Yeah. Because apparently there's a lot of locals that say that heavy storms would roll in during Mothman sightings.
Mm-hmm.
So is he there because he's trying to warn you, or is he bringing the storms, like you said earlier? Like we just don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. And I think when it comes to the storms, because if I'm not mistaken, I haven't heard much of these storms being destructive in this case. It just happens to be a sighting and then a storm. Mm-hmm. And if the Mothman is associated, if it's an angelic entity or a demonic one, and it is for some reason associated with weather, especially with storms in particular, well, then it's potentially kind of a pre-warning, like this is the storm that is coming. I am the chaos. I am the storm. And then we hear about these things happening, these destruction, of these catastrophes. And the Mothman wasn't just sighted in West Virginia either. Like he's been seen in southern Ohio, which is right near where Point Pleasant is. They're kind of right on the border there. But he's been seen around the world as well. Yeah. There have been a number of different sightings throughout that have seen similar things, either a destruction of a bridge or a building or some catastrophe. But always, again, associated with these storms. And that is interesting. It's almost like the butterfly effect, but on a more literal sense. It's like every time he flaps his wings, a storm is created, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting, and I think certainly important to consider when it comes to the Mothman. And like I keep saying, it's like I consider it more of a spiritual thing, possibly.
Maybe.
But that's not to say he's not cryptid, because we do have, of course, the Thunderbird, who is notorious for creating thunderstorms as well, and that is a cryptid, as far as we know. I mean, again, that could have also been an angelic or a demonic or some other spiritual being that people just thought was a bird, but was something else. But nonetheless, I am under the strong belief that a Thunderbird is an actual physical bird that maybe once existed at one point, and maybe was big enough and strong enough to fly through storms. Whether or not it created them, no one can actually say. But nonetheless, there are certain creatures that survive in different types of phenomena that others don't, or they're just not willing to.
And who's to say the Mothman's not some kind of an entity from the future or whatever, and that's a suit, and they're here to study certain phenomena that happens to have severe storms happening. Like we just don't know.
No, we don't know. You're right. Yeah. I mean, and we could speculate and until we have hard evidence. There's claims of photos and videos, things like that. But even those have been, they've been up for scrutiny a lot, as is most things that we see in the paranormal, especially lately with the whole AI thing. But how many people in various different Facebook groups that you and I are both in, but that I just see around that people are posting these clearly AI generated things and trying to pass them off as real, or like, this is, it's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me. It's funny how people are like, I can't say this is, I can't say this is legit, but also it's like, meanwhile, you see this demon thing running and its feet turn into heels. Like it has high heels all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Come on. Like,
maybe they do wear high heels. Maybe they have stilettos. I don't know.
But it's just very, very interesting. I will say, like, it's harder to discern, obviously, from what is real and what isn't. It was already difficult to begin with.
Yeah.
But now over the last couple of years, it's just atrocious.
Yeah, and AI is just getting better and better. I mean, my son sent me, I was at Walmart and he texted me, he goes, "Are you at work?" I said, "No, I'm just getting some groceries. I'll call you when I get to the car." So he sends me this picture, and which made me call him right away. It looked like his foot was so black and purple. And I thought he injured himself on the job. He's a commercial plumber.
Okay.
And so I called him. I'm like, "Did you go to the hospital?" "No, I think I'm fine. I took some meds. I'm good. I can walk on it." I'm like, "No, by the looks of it, you might even need surgery." Like, all the stuff speculating. Then he starts to laugh, goes, "Mom, it's AI." I'm like, "What?" When I zoomed in, then I noticed it. But of course, the mother instincts kicked in. It's just like, "Oh my!" So I showed my daughter, and she just yells in Walmart, "Holy shit!" But yeah, he was calm, and it's just like,
yeah. AI, that's a whole nother episode, as we both know. But it's like, it's just the amount of things that I see posted, especially on Facebook and Instagram as of late, and especially within the paranormal groups, because, obviously some stuff is very clearly AI. There are others that are very well done, and you have to question: is it real? Isn't it real? And I'm more on the skeptic side anyway, so I'm always like, I won't believe it until I can physically see it and prove it. And all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's not to say there haven't been things where I'm like, well, that's interesting. That's very scary. But there are also various, like, and I've seen so many people post photos, and they're like, "There's a ghost here," and it's just a picture with nothing in it. Like, you can search and search and search, and you find nothing, and then you ask the person who posted it, "Well, where is it?" And it's like, "It's this little tiny dot right here, this little smudge." I'm like,
yeah,
what?
I know.
Get out of here with this. Some people, I think some people just want to believe so hard that they will,
And I totally understand that.
Totally.
Yeah. But I can't in good conscience, because I want to believe so much. I can't in good conscience just say, "Yep, that's real." Yeah. I have to look into it further.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in all honesty, there are a lot of gullible people out there. And you might recall that a few years back, it's a little more than a few years back, sorry, I posted a photo that I took while I was out on a DoorDash run. And it was a picture of this. It was, I don't know what it was exactly. It's just like this steel, like, it's flat. It wasn't 3D. It was like flat. It was like aluminum or something. That's this little thing or pretty big thing that stood in the middle of the backyard, and it looked like a monkey on all fours.
I remember,
but it had no features on it whatsoever. So I took a photo of it. I thought, this is weird. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to post this in the paranormal forum groups, and I'm going to do a little editing and say, I don't know what this is. And it had thousands and thousands of views and comments, and the grand majority of those people freaking out, like, what is it? I don't know what it is. And they're like, it's a rake, it's this, it's that. And then, obviously the few that are like, this, I don't think this is anything. This is, right? But it's like, I knew that it was nothing. But to see how many people believed just by seeing that photo, and all it took was a little editing, throw it into, save it to your phone, throw it in black and white mode, turn up the, what do they call it? The exposure.
Oh yeah.
And boom, you see it's like a sculpture in the backyard. A very lightly detailed one, because it was the back of it. But it's like, I mean, I had a lot of fun with that. I will admit that I was, at that time, part of the problem rather than the solution. But
social experiment.
Social experiment. And I did, like, I posted it for the show, and I posted it on our Instagram, and then we talked about it on the show too. But it's crazy to me, like, how quickly people will see what you say it is without taking the time to study it and really figure out the truth.
That's why whenever I show a photo to someone, or I get someone to listen to what audio, if I think I heard something, oh my God, what's that called?
EVP? You're talking about?
What is it?
EVPs?
Yes, thank you. Oh my God. Blonde moment. I don't tell them what I think I see or hear. I just say, here, what do you think? So I'm not putting that information in their brains. They're just like, yeah, I see nothing, or yeah, I think it's this. I'm like, yeah. Okay.
That's one thing that I find frustrating with a lot of modern ghost hunting shows is when they air that type of stuff, they immediately say what they think it is, or they'll just say, listen to the CVP, and it gives little subtitles. So it immediately tells you what they think it is without giving you the time to discern it yourself.
Yeah.
And I would prefer that they gave us time to kind of like, figure it out on our own. Because it's, what was forget what the word is, but there's like, you can easily cause someone to perceive something a certain way just by, telling them what it is, like what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's like you could say this sounds like the word car, and someone else says it's the word duck. And when you listen to it, depending on what word you're given, it sounds the same. It's like, oh yeah, this is car. And then the next person's like, oh no, it's duck. Right.
Yeah.
And there's so
and
many,
in reality, it was a fart.
Right. There's so many social experiments out there that show that, like, just on YouTube and stuff, but it's crazy. It's, you can easily, I hate to use the word manipulate, but in a sense, you're manipulating the mind by tricking people, not necessarily tricking, but, can what's the word? I don't know, just getting people to believe a certain word that is used that maybe isn't used at all.
Yeah. You're kind of guiding where you want them to think.
Yeah.
So another haunting linked with storms is the lightning-linked hauntings of Borley Rectory. So known as the most haunted house in England, Borley Rectory was struck by lightning multiple times before its 1939 fire. Investigators documented poltergeist activity increasing during thunderstorms, phantom lights and electrical disturbances during storms, witnesses claiming the spirits were stronger in bad weather, and some researchers theorize lightning energizes paranormal manifestations.
Yeah, I mean, and we've already talked about that a bit here, but it's when I think of like, oh, during a thunderstorm, there's light anomalies and things turning on and off, like that could very well just be electrical phenomena that literally comes from lightning storms. Now, whether or not there was electricity in this house and what type of electricity and whether it was attached to the grid, there's all these different things you have to take into consideration, I suppose. But typically I would think if I see a flickering light during a thunderstorm, it's probably because the thunderstorm itself is causing it. Before I turn and say, oh no, it's a ghost. That's flipping lights.
Get the salt.
Or a poltergeist. But yeah, and here's the other thing too with storms. It's, I think it's easier to say that storms are kind of a conduit for paranormal activity because it's what we see in the movies as well.
Yeah.
How many scary movies do we see, especially paranormal, where there's a thunderstorm right before the activity starts? And so I think we have this natural tendency to believe that if there's a thunderstorm, then scary things start to happen. And I'm victim to that. I'm still victim to that. There's a thunderstorm outside. I'm like, I think I hear a noise, right? I think something's walking up the stairs or something, whatever. Thankfully, I got Binks now. So every time I think I see or hear something and then I look at him and he's just calm, I'm like, oh, it's nothing.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Yeah. That's a nice thing about having pets, cat, dog, whatever. Yeah. Chances are they're going to notice something before us. So, always pay attention to your pets.
I will say that's when it gets scary, when Binks does notice something that I don't see. And I'm just like, what are you looking at? And he's just frozen solid. His tail's fluffing up and he's staring at the ceiling. Like, bro, there is nothing there.
Yeah, that's not just a bug. It's because the tail's fluffed up. Yeah.
So I don't know. Either he sees something or He just way smarter and knows how to control everything. And he's like, I'm about to scare Dad. I'm going to do this just for fun.
Maybe. So apparently after Hurricane Katrina in 2005, paranormal investigators reported a spike in spirit activity. Apparently there were apparitions appearing during heavy rains, EVP recordings capturing voices referencing drowning, increased activity in already haunted locations during tropical storms. Have you heard anything about anything paranormal related after Hurricane Katrina?
I mean, a few things, but I don't think any of it is, what did I say? It's not directly related to the energy of the storm itself. I think it was related to, hi, bud. Excuse you.
Oh,
hi.
He thinks it's his show.
No, not buddy. I'm thinking of things now. Get out of here.
Oh.
Come on. I know he overreacts sometimes. I give him a little tap and he like jumps a mile back. Like, oh, you pushed me so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So the thing with Katrina, and I did have, I hate to use the word privilege because it wasn't like a good reason to go down there, but like per se, it wasn't. Me in words. It was a good thing to go down there, but for the reason that we had to go down there. So I went down there for mission trips after Katrina to do demolition and mold remediation through various houses that were destroyed by floods. And so in that sense, it was good to go down there and help out, but the reason we had to go down there and help out was bad, right?
Yeah.
But Katrina destroyed a large number of the city, and part of that was the flooding, which happened obviously in very many aspects of the city, not just the Ninth Ward, but it also lifted up and moved tombs and like caskets and things like that. So we have a lot of not deliberate, but we have a lot of activity of disturbing perhaps souls that were resting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think because of that, because there were so many already deceased souls, or people, their souls resting, it created this kind of energy. It like woke up these souls and spirits that were moved about, and now they're like trying to figure out where they're at, what's going on. The energy increased because of it, just because because everything was kind of disrupted. There was more ghost activity, and then on top of that, thousands of people passed away during the storm. So now you have fresh souls too that are wandering about who maybe didn't have the ability to have closure, who lost loved ones, or who passed away for saying bye to their children or something like that. So I think for that reason alone, there was an increase in paranormal activity. I won't say for sure that the storm itself did it.
Yeah. Because there's so many emotions going on, like panic. People are just sad. They just can't believe that their property, their home is gone now. I mean, there's so many emotions.
Yeah, and I mean, there were a lot of people that were just lost to sea. They were, never found. So there's obviously it was catastrophic. And because of that, there were definitely, I think the increase in hauntings was due to just the disturbance within the city because of the storm, not necessarily in direct relation to the energy of the storm. Mind you, New Orleans, I mean, all of the cities along the coast, especially that were hurt by the storm, they live near the ocean. And so there's this constant energy source that already stirs up spiritual activity. We see the same thing in Savannah. So I don't think necessarily a storm itself would increase it even more, because ocean waves in general actually also create negative ions. Every time a wave breaks, it does the same thing that rain or lightning does. It splits atoms and creates negative ions. And, there's a lot of discussion today about how negative ions can affect us. Might affect us psychologically in a negative way, or in a way that makes us think we're seeing spirits or ghost activity. But it also benefits us, because if you've ever been to the ocean, or if you like storms, or if you like the forest, mind you, the forest also very, very potent in negative ions, a lot of people feel peace in these areas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the energy of the negative ions actually have a calming effect on the human body. There's various types of necklaces and bracelets and rings that are made out of rubber that are infused with negative ions for that exact reason.
Oh,
To
I
help
didn't know
bring the
that.
calming. Yeah.
Huh.
So, negative ions poses both a pro and a con to our bodies and our energy. But with that said, I mean, I always make a very short answer very long for whatever reason.
Wouldn't be you.
Yeah. I don't think that Katrina itself was the cause, or I should say the energy of Katrina was the cause of the hauntings increase, but instead the destruction of Katrina was the cause of the increase.
Fair, yep. I want to mention one that happened actually in Canada, in Alberta, called the Vanishing Travelers. Apparently, it happens across rural Alberta highways. Drivers during blizzards report picking up silent hitchhikers who vanish, figures seen walking along snowy roads during whiteouts, radio interference during extreme cold weather, that happens. Apparently, these sightings spike during severe winter advisories.
That, I mean, again, that goes back to the negative ion thing and snow.
Yep.
But I also think it has, like, there's a sense of, like, I think audio, like, snow has a natural dampening effect. So it does quiet a lot of nature. A lot of things that you normally hear gets dampened and it becomes silent. And that could, especially for people, can increase or heighten our awareness to the things that we normally don't see or hear because we're pulled in so many different directions. So maybe these hauntings that increased were simply due to our ability to suddenly kind of zero in on them, since there wasn't a distraction from the rest of the world or nature or whatnot, from sound itself. But again, it's not to say, like, storms, again, barometric pressure, it changes when it comes to a snowstorm.
Yeah.
You have the negative ions that increases. And we know that negative ions, again, not only affect human, like, people, but it also has an effect, at least as far as we can tell, within the paranormal community. It tends to help energize some spiritual or some haunted areas when you think of EMF, electromagnetic fields. So it is very possible that it happened, that a winter storm would cause that. And I don't see why it wouldn't. It's not much different from a regular storm.
Yeah. I have mentioned this on the show before too, and I'm pretty sure you know the story. When we first moved into our current house in 2018, that winter it snowed every day. And then the next year we had record floodings. Like, it was horrible. Oh. But my daughter and I were sitting in the living room just watching TV, and our front door we keep locked. We don't use it. We even have a sign, "Please use side door." So it's snowing. There's a little bit of a storm going on outside, and my daughter sees a light source, like someone with a lantern or a flashlight walking in front of the living room window, and we hear this loud noise coming from our storm door outside, which was always locked. And even the animals jumped, and I was just like, what? And then I saw somebody leaving with a light source. So I thought, okay, that's weird. And I know it was a Thursday because we always get our flyers delivered on Thursdays. Okay. And I thought maybe it was somebody delivering the flyers in this storm. So I opened the inside door, and the outside storm door was ajar. Like, it sounded like somebody tried to rip the door off.
Oh, wow.
And I looked down, and there's no footprints. Like, yes, it is a storm, but it's not going to fill in the footprints that quickly.
Right.
And my daughter's like, Mom, I'm like, yeah, maybe the house is shifting. She goes, no, Mom. I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to make her not freak out, right? And then after a couple times me going, maybe, and she goes, Mom, I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I had sage not too far before then. Like, people know that I sage my house on from time to time. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I said, this is why I saged the house. So whatever that wasn't coming in. So, and again, it was during a snowstorm.
Yeah.
To see the light source, like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty wild. I mean, and I think back to, like, some of these talking paranormal shows, where it's like they show videos and you have like 5 or 6 people talking about it. Mm-hmm. I could think of some of them saying, "Well, there's this thing about ball electricity or ball lightning, right? Yep. Which I mean is a very valid and 100% real thing. And that's scientifically proven. Meteorologists have talked about it and showed real video of it. Yeah, and of course, I think in this case that's probably not what it was. Obviously, like I think it's very clear what a ball of lightning looks like, right?
Yeah. But and I've seen thunder and lightning during a snowstorm too. Not often, but it's weird.
Yeah, that happens up here during the winters. If there is lightning, it's always green. So we get green lightning during the winter, and then it's blue or white lightning during regular months. But I really don't know why it turns green in the winter. I'm sure it has something to do with the snow, there's the atmosphere with the weather. But anyway, the fact that you and your daughter both witnessed this, though, this light ball of light, and like my family and I, we witnessed something very similar at my parents' house so many times over. We would see this green orb float across the room, like a green or blue orb, down the hall, through the living room, into the kitchen, and we'd all see it at the exact same moment and all like, did you see that, right?
Yeah.
So, I think I think it's probable that it's most likely could have been some sort of, haunting of some sort of ghost.
Yep.
But does that mean that it happened because of the snowstorm, or did it just happen during a snowstorm?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I think that's the one thing that you can never really prove for sure. And unless we have significant evidence stacking up, and that's where it comes back to what I said at the beginning, is we need a controlled scientific study, paranormal experimentation, if you will. That sounds so weird. Paranormal experimentation. What are we going to create? To really discern whether or not storms do increase paranormal activity. And we'd have to rely heavily, I think, on our devices, because I think due to the fact that storms have a proven ability to change our psyche and our awareness of things and the changes to our bodies and our minds, we can't rely on that, because we can see the increase in paranormal activity, and that could just be the effect of the storm itself doing things internally. And not really showing us ghosts, but making us think we're seeing ghosts. So, yeah, I think there definitely needs to be some sort of methodical scientific study conducted using the same instruments over and over again, both during storms and not during storms, at the same location. It has to be the same location, house, ideally some controlled location would be most ideal. Nothing like out in the woods, because you can't control that. And I think that would help us better understand whether or not storms really do create or heighten activity.
Maybe it's enabling us to see things that we normally wouldn't be able to see too. Like, we don't know.
Right. I mean, that is absolutely a possibility. And I think that helps. I think if we can't know for sure, but I think like if we were to do this experimentation during a storm and also give a cue as to what we're seeing and witnessing, and we witness the same things that the instruments are picking up on, then that would help indicate whether or not we actually are able to see these things more often during storms rather than the calm times, the down times.
When I used to do investigations, when I thought of it, I wouldn't do it all the time, but I would always, in my MP3 player, because I would have like the recorder, the recorder around my neck when I was investigating, and I would always give the date, time, location, who I am, who's investigating, and I'd give like a little weather report, at the same time. I wish it's something that I would have thought to do with every investigation, but I didn't. But
yeah, I mean that's not something I think everyone typically thinks of right off bat.
No.
I know there's been times, especially in the woods or certain outdoor hauntings, cemeteries, where I might indicate that there was wind blowing, or there was something like that, or the leaves are moving. But that's a little different than simply saying there's a storm, because if you're indoors, you don't always think about it unless it's pretty loud and obvious, right?
Well, do you have any other potential storm-related hauntings that you want to share? Anything personal that you witnessed or you know somebody else?
I don't really have anything personal to share, only because like I feel like the hauntings that I've experienced, especially within this house and then at my parents' house, have been pretty. They've always been pretty evenly distributed day by day, whether storming or not storming. So I don't have any personal experiences regarding storms. I know of a couple people who claim that there have been increases in paranormal activity within their homes during a storm. Something more like they see something moving, or like an item move, or they hear rattling the door handle or something like that, and I don't know exactly when it happened that they witnessed this, but there are a number of factors that play into it as well. A thunderstorm, for example, if the thunder is loud enough, it will rattle windows, it will rattle door handles, it'll create these, kind of anomalies that you might not immediately associate to the storm itself, but think, whoa, that lightning or whatever just caused this door to shift or whatever, right? And you might think, oh, that's odd, that's weird, that never happens, it's paranormal, if you don't connect the dots, right? But aside from that, it's just, there's not been too many people that have come out and said there's definitely more activity. Like friends of mine have never said there's definitely more activity during storms. I think they become more afraid during storms for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's an aspect where, especially if you fear hauntings to begin with, if you're afraid of the storm because of the things you believe, especially when we talk about movies, you may open yourself up to things, and then you have the activity kick in. But so then it's like, was it the storm causing the activity, or is it your awareness that the door that you just opened because you're afraid of the things that you think will exist because of a storm, right? Yeah,
because anybody who's ever watched any horror movies or anything like that know that hauntings, you'll hear a storm in the distance or something. So we might subconsciously associate that with hauntings, and either we're just noticing more activity during that time, or like who's to say?
Yeah, we just don't know. And until we can again have like do a study that is controlled experimentation over the course of, ideally over the course of at least a year. And I'm not saying we got to do, an investigation every day or every week, but at least a couple times a month for a year, both during storms and also during calm times, to really help us understand and see whether or not there is a difference. And ideally this would be at a notoriously haunted spot, right? A place we know we'll find activity. It'd be silly to do it in my house or like your house, just like, unless they were extremely haunted places. But I definitely think that would be beneficial. But until then, I mean, we're still here with speculation, right?
Yep, exactly.
We won't know until we know.
What say you, my haunted hearts? Do these storms trigger hauntings? Tell us what you think. So you can send us a message either at paranormalheart13@gmail.com, or Erik, could you please tell the haunted hearts where they can find you and where they can contact you?
Yeah, you can contact us on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media, paranormal, at ParaTruth Reborn. I always want to say radio. I did it last week on the show and messed it up.
I always want to say that too.
But yeah, ParaTruth Reborn or at paratruth.com. We have a little tab on there that you can like reach out to us via email or through messaging. We're happy to get back to you. We usually get back to you within a couple of hours in most cases. And of course, you can also just check us out on YouTube and all those places, and then comment on any show, send us a message, even if it's not related to our topic for that night. We're happy to talk about it on the show as well.
Excellent. Can you also tell them where they can find your show?
Yeah, of course. I mean, really, you can Google us, just ParaTruth Reborn, and you'll find everything that you need to find to get a hold of us and find our show. We're on Spreaker, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on all the places, really, like literally everywhere.
UPRN.
Podbean, UPRN, 107.7 FM, New Orleans, and 5.3 FM, the Gulf Coast, everywhere worldwide. Like, just, again, Google's your best friend when it comes to finding our show. So it's ParaTruth or ParaTruth Reborn will pop up either way.
And usually have new episodes on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Is that Eastern?
10 p.m. Eastern. Technically 10 p.m. Eastern. So, if you tune in at 10 p.m. and we're not there, it's because you got to wait 10 minutes.
Yeah, because you do live.
We do live. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Erik. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this topic that I find really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's super interesting. I was excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you. Too bad Justin couldn't make it, but he had other things he had to take care of. So we could have talked about him, but
could have.
Nothing good. Okay. Hang tight. I'll say farewell to the Haunted Hearts, and we'll just chat for a couple minutes if you have time.
For sure.
Okay. So a huge thank you to my special guest, Erik Scerbak, and to you, my wonderful Haunted Hearts, for tuning in. I also want to thank UPRN 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast for carrying the show. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. It really does mean the world to me. And if you'd like to be on the show, you have guest or topic ideas, just want to say hello, drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from what country you're listening from as well. So send me an email. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves and of each other. Much love to you all.